And let's take a look at the lineup here. Heat 1A and the Lumar window film out to the early start, but then Miss Budweiser able to take over and take command of this opening heat here in Detroit.
On board with Dave Villwock coming down the front straight, which isn't quite straight here in Detroit, going into the biggest turn on the circuit, TJ. The Belle Isle turn is huge. The boats do not slow down at all going through here. The other end of the race course, the tightest turn that we see all season.
Miss Budweiser would go on to win for the 10th consecutive time in a heat, winning easily in Heat 1A. The Appian Geronimo in second, Vacationville.com newly named in third, followed by Lumar Window Film and the Miss Free Island. Now you're on board with Jimmy King in the Lumar Window Film, and take a look what happens here. You were talking about tight turns, and Steve, you're going to get a good look at it inside the boat.
Well, Jimmy's brought us some very exciting shots this year. Watch this one. He's in the rooster tail turn, and what you're seeing there is his view of the boat hooking. A rough start to the day for Jimmy King and the Lumar.
Jimmy King took responsibility there. Meanwhile, in Heat 1B, Steve, problems from the very beginning.
Well, here comes the field down to the start. That's Mike Hansen out ahead. Mark Webber in the yellow boat. Mark Tate coming by in the Freddy's Club. Now, back here in the Rooster Tail, we can see the boat because it has that new bright orange paint job. That's the Elam Plus, who appears to be very late. Well, turned out maybe he was the only boat on time, as we had gun jumpers, TJ, in Heat 1B. Some boats that got to the line before the clock ticked down to 0.
We have talked so much about the importance of timing that start correctly, but we had a lot of confusion here in 1B. These boats appear to be battling it out for first and second. Meanwhile, everybody's on the radios trying to figure out who jumped the gun, if anyone did. So you weren't quite sure exactly who was in front at this point in this heat. It looked like that the Miss Elam Plus, the boat we were just talking about, was on the lead lap, but a very confusing situation for the drivers, Steve, in this situation to try to figure out who's in front.
And right here you see Mike Hansen getting the white flag. 1 lap to go. A checkered flag for Mark Evans, who apparently had won this heat.
But as it turns out, the Miss DYC is the winner, but then there's a fuel violation for them, so they get no points. Confused? Mark Evans was confused at Heat 2A as they lined up 4 across on the Detroit River, Steve.
Spectacular sight, TG. We don't see this very often. They're coming out of the big Belle Isle turn 4 wide. I don't know when we've seen that kind of side-by-side racing from the big Unlimiteds, and now they're headed down one of the fastest straightaways that we encounter all season.
You see the acceleration that we've talked so much about all year long, the Miss Budweiser team and Dave Villwock in that boat. Now, unlike our previous events, very tight turn here, and that's going to be an issue in this race and in all the subsequent races, having to negotiate that turn.
As you can see, it's impossible to come through the Rooster Tail turn side by side, and those 4 boats that were side by side now fanned out at the end of lap 1. Villwock with a nice lead.
Previous wins in Detroit for Bernie Little. Meantime, we take a look back at Heat 2B and a boat that has been getting faster, the Appian Geronimo.
A rookie driver up from the Unlimited Lights, where he was very competitive, George Stratton, having just a tremendous day. They've been fairly cautious with George and this new boat, and now, TJ, they are ready to race. There is no win like the first one, George. How does it feel?
It feels great. It really does.
Well, that crew was celebrating big time after the race. His first ever win in an Unlimited Hydro Heat. His Chrysler Jeep was second. You take a look at the results there from Heat 2B.
Good job. Good job.
Now in Detroit, there were 4 sets of heats, so we look back now at Heat 3A, and once again that bright orange boat, Miss Elam Plus. And that boat, there you see, leaving the water, starting with the rough conditions there a little bit. That would cause some of these boats to leave the water. Dangerous situation for them to be out there.
It's great to have Mark Evans back. He drives hard, always puts on a great show. They call this color Aging Announcer Orange, TJ, and we thank them for that.
So the choppy conditions made those drivers a little antsy. Meantime, the familiar Red Rocket, Miss Budweiser, trying to make it 13 wins in a row in the preliminary heats. These guys have been seemingly unstoppable, and Dave Villwock out to the big lead.
Giving chase once again, George Stratton and the Appian Geronimo, and here's the view out the front window, the Detroit skyline way in the distance there as Villwock comes down the front chute.